the consumer has moved on, but the question is, has the wedding industry caught up? We ran an inquiry test with 20 venues. We were looking for what was the response time, what was the overall quality of the response, and how and when and how frequently did they follow up with us? What did that look like? 13 replied, 7 didn't bother, sorry. Of the 13, 1 replied in 48 hours, which I still think is far too long.
Wow.
4 took over a week to reply, but the majority took over 2 weeks to reply. And then when we got the responses back, most of them looked like this. Let me play this. This is an email back from one of the venues. Okay. Just blocks and blocks and blocks of text.
Wow.
Look at it. Doesn't that just suck the life out of you guys? I mean, come on.
Wow.
This is just painful.
It is, guys. If you're relating to this, please let us know in the comments. As I said to you, all these sessions are very much interactive. The more you engage, the more you take away from it. But I think many of us will have an opinion about this email.
Well, exactly. And look, this is what we'll kind of get onto that, because I do want your feedback on this, guys, as well. We'll kind of get onto that in a moment's time. But look, so taking this a stage deeper is we know that 95% of the wedding industry still use phone call and email as the primary source of communication between them and the prospect. And as we know, look, the millennial generation who are, whether we like it or not, are our main customers now, because they're the ones getting married. They don't like they don't like telephones. They don't like people phoning them. Maybe we've got, things like PPI to blame for that, but they don't answer the phone. And emails only ever had a 20% open rate. They're using these less, and they're using things like this more.
More.
Chat.
I'm just going to check in with comments, Tim. Just one.
Yeah, no, please do.
So Dougie says if he takes more than an hour to reply, he's kicking himself. Tim was just laughing at that email. Joe was saying I would just ignore it. Yeah, I think we have been guilty of doing that ourselves as well. So that's my cat in the background, by the way.
Bring him on. Bring him on.
Tim is saying comprehensive. ... I agree. Lindsay saying, "Holy cow! I would have clicked straight off that email." And Kimberly saying, "Really working on responses and follow-ups." And Dom says, "What would that email look like on mobile?" Exactly. Yeah, Dom, that's a very good point. Who would have scrolled so far down that email?
Yeah. Exactly that. And look, this is the next slide. I was going to kind of ask you these questions and what your thoughts were. To just kind of finish this one off, is what we say to a lot of the business we speak to is, look, companies today don't have a sales problem. What they have is a communications problem. And what this means is their content and their collateral isn't getting through because they're using outdated methods of communication that they kind of just hope get through.
Yeah.
The purpose of collateral and content is that it communicates the benefits of our business versus the business down the street. But we're falling at the first hurdle here, guys. That vital rapport isn't being built, which, as we know, is so vital in the wedding industry. And in the case we just saw, communication, the content of your communication can cause them to abandon the process, which creates a huge leaking bucket.
Yeah.
So why does this matter so much for the wedding industry? It matters for businesses in general, of course, but I think it matters even more for the wedding industry. Why? Because weddings are not just another product or service, are they, guys? What we're selling is the dream. Yeah, we're selling a dream. People only get married once. Well, in their head they do. And subconsciously, what does our communication say about our ability to deliver upon that dream day? So in the example that we just saw, what assumptions would you guys draw from that? We've kind of already covered this off, and it's great that everyone's kind of starting to think about this already. But it was late, it was boring, it was impersonal, and they didn't even bother following up. I'll tell you what it says to me. It says they haven't got their shit together. as a business? Do you think that person went with that venue? Or do you think they went with the venue that responded sooner, had more visuals, did a more personalized follow-up, maybe using modern methods of communication? What do you think happened? And it's pretty much, when we're speaking to wedding venues, we know that half the battle is just getting them in through the front door so that they can have a look around. Once you do that, someone falls in love with it. So it's kind of who can get to them first, who can build the rapport, who can keep the communication. That's half the battle, guys. Okay.
It's interesting, Tim, because, you know, quite often I think the perception is let's give people as much information as possible, whereas that's the wrong thing, because if you overwhelm people with the amount of information, I mean, that email would have taken some amount of time for somebody to type in all these dates and all these rates and everything else like that. You know, for the effort, but actually it's achieving nothing. And overwhelming the couple, and they're just moving on to the next email. So, you know, Kelly quite often says to our members, your number one objective is not, you know, kill them with the information, but actually get them on a call or a show round and get them in front of you. I mean, Lindsay's saying here, she's struggling to keep track of inquiries from platforms like Instagram. She says it would be great to have a system to log inquiries from all different sources. I think that's the kind of problem that as an industry we've got, and hopefully that somebody will come up with something like that. I know that you guys do something like that for wedding venues, Tim, isn't that right?
That's what we've got. That's exactly what we've built, Lindsay. We've built a system whereby it connects all of your lead sources. So all of your leads, all of your inquiries can come forward into one platform. We centralize all the communications. We filter out all the time wasters, and then the system will do 90% of that time-consuming follow-up, so that, quite frankly, you can go on and do something more important in your business. If anyone wants to kind of chat about that, of course, just give me a shout afterwards, or go onto the website and book some time, and I'll give you guys a demo of exactly how it works. No problem at all.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Cool. Right. So let's get on then, guys. Let's push through. So, okay, Tim. Well, look, we've painted quite a dire picture here. Don't tell me it's raining if you're not going to bring me an umbrella. What is the opportunity? Right, let's cut to the chase. Who wants to know the secret? We need to use technology to create personalization at scale. Okay, here's 5 key takeaways of what we're doing with our clients, and how you guys can take some of this away today and use a variation of this, or get in touch with us so that we can help. Number 1, we're doing hyper-personalized adverts. Why? Because this will drive up inquiry quality and quantity. Okay, we spend 95% of our clients' budget on Facebook and Instagram. Why? Because their targeting options are so robust. Those platforms, like it or not, know absolutely everything about you. Your demographic information, your age, your gender, your net worth, your household size, all the way down to all of your interests. Okay, are you a frequent flyer? Are you a luxury shopper? Do you have an affinity with a certain part of the UK, or indeed anywhere in the world? That's where we, as business owners, we can tap into all of those interests and make sure that our ads are only showed to those ideal prospects. Number 2 is we need to be setting up retargeting. Okay, so if they bounce for whatever reason, you know what we've highlighted today is, look, that millennial that millennial consumer is, because they're so connected all the time, and they're so time poor, their attention span has dwindled. Okay, they've got an attention span of a fish. Okay, so it's very easy for them to be halfway through looking at you guys as a business and then just get distracted and go and do something else. That's why retargeting is absolutely imperative. Number 3 is, let's use the Facebook technology, the Facebook pixel, to create advanced strategies, things like lookalike audiences. Here we can go back to Facebook and Instagram and say, look, we like these people who are coming through and actually converting into customers. Go away, Facebook, and find us more of them. That is called lookalike audiences. If anyone wants to learn more about this, feel free to give me a shout, and I'll help you guys out. Number 4 is, look, we want to work smarter, not harder. Can anyone just chuck up some ads? I wouldn't recommend it, because the advanced strategies is where it really starts to sing, and the optimization is really needed. You need to stay on top of it using things like the dynamic budget allocation inside Facebook to set where Facebook will actually take your budget and actually deliver it to the best performing ad sets and best performing ads. Okay, but we're getting hyper targeted with the messaging, the targeting, and the retargeting, so that we can bring about a higher quality of person and a higher quantity of person, so that we're already streets ahead of the competition. Okay, that top of the funnel, if we stuff it with a load of crap from the listing sites, it's going to be harder to find the diamonds in the rough. If we put in quality in at the top, once we run through a filtration step, we're going to have a better conversation with those people. Number two, let's try and remove the time wasters. Okay, so what I always say to our clients is, look, because we are selling the dream day, we naturally attract dreamers. Okay, we just naturally do. It's inherent to the industry, right? We're never going to be able to, to fully extract all of those time wasters up from the process. We're just never going to be able to do it, because what happens is you get people in their mind, they think, right, well, I'm only going to get married once. I want to make a bit of a thing of this. Okay, I want to elongate the process. I want to live in the moment a bit more. But what actually happens is, and it's no fault of the consumer, but as they request the information from you, what they don't understand is that they then fall into your pipeline where you have to service that inquiry and you have to follow up with them, and it costs you money. Okay, by removing them from the sales process, it's going to improve our response time to legitimate prospects. So we have a way of doing this automatically inside our system. But the takeaway that I can give you guys today is always be testing for responsiveness throughout the sales process. The way you do that is by keeping it as conversational as possible. Okay, so always leaving it on a question. As I said, we have a way of doing that inside our system automatically. I'm happy to show you at some point. Number three is know your conversion rates. Okay, so thinking of the sales process as a holistic start and end process. What are our inquiry sources? How many of those turn into an inquiry? How many of those inquiries turn into conversations? Conversations into tours or quotes? From quote into follow-up, from follow-up into booking. Why is this important in the context of the consumer? Well, modern day consumer, because we get to diagnose where we have that leak in the bucket. Okay, well, see, I have so many venues that we speak to, and they say to us, yeah, but Tim, look, I get load of inquiries. Well, we get loads of inquiries. And I say, okay, well, look, how many of those actually turned into a conversation? And they can't answer the question because they're not tracking their conversion rate from touch point to touch point. And as an industry, have we been guilty of tracking the wrong metrics for too long? An inquiry is worthless if it doesn't end up in a conversation.
That's true.
And in fact, it'll actually cost you money as a business because
you're spending time follow-up and all of that stuff where you should be focusing on those conversation-making inquiries. Definitely. That's interesting.
Yeah. Exactly. And what we some venues I speak to them and I say, well, look, you're actually paying a team to do the wrong things. Worse still, if you're a smaller venue and you're handling a lot of this yourself, worse still, it's taking up all your time. So it's important to try and spend our time with the right people and really map our conversion rates, because what we know is 70 to 85% is the industry standard, whereby all of those inquiries that come through initially, they're tire kickers, they're brochure collectors, these people that want to live in the moment. And the reason that we're looking at conversion rate is, look, are they a time waster, or is it something in our process that we can adapt and fix? Your cat liked that slide.
Yes, he did.
That leads us nicely onto test your communications. Okay, I speak to so many venues and they come to us with so many questions. Questions create doubt. Testing creates certainty. Questions like, is our brochure too long? Should we include pricing? Should we put videos on the landing page? The answer is, look, guys, test it and find out, does it improve the opt-in rate? Does it improve sales? Okay. This over here on the right hand side, this is a little dive into our system. We had one of our clients, he said to us, Tim, you know, we've got a brochure, and you know, we actually built the brochure for them. It's lovely, we love it. I just get a feeling that maybe it's too long. I said, what do you think? I said, look, yeah, look, the millennial consumer, I think my gut feeling is potentially the same. But let's remove that question mark in our mind and replace it with certainty. So we ran a split test for him. Okay, so we had the control, which was the original, and then we had the variation, which was the shortened version of the brochure. This was very early on. It actually turned out that the shortened version was actually a lot more, people were a lot more receptive to it. So it goes back to what we were talking about earlier on, guys. Be succinct, get to the point. If you've got a load of superfluous information in there, it could be time for an edit, but always test. And a top tip is always test scientifically. Always be only testing one variable at a time, so that we can actually hang our hat on, was it that one thing that made the difference? If we're testing 3 or 4, how will we know? Okay, so always be testing one thing at a time. Number 5 is try and systemize the process, guys. Don't be scared of automation, right? Automation creates leverage in our business. Okay, it enables you to be there when you're not there and deliver that kind of expectation that the consumer so sorely needs in this modern day world. And ask yourself the question, where am I most valuable in my business? And I'll give you a clue. It's going to be FaceTime with clients. You want to try and be a booking taker, not a bride chaser. Automate what you can, and bonus points for using the right type of communication channels so that we know it's actually getting through. Okay, where the rubber meets the road and what we have in our setup is the right type of communication channel. Okay, we've got the right lines out to catch the right fish, coupled to automations that just fire off. So going back to what somebody said earlier on, and said, look, what we're struggling with is getting back to people from inquiries. What we have is a direct integration with Facebook. The prospect is, as soon as they respond and say, yes, I want more information, they're sucked into our system, and then the system sends them all the information they need, tests them for responsiveness. Are they here to waste our time? Are they here to spend some money? And keeps following up with them for an amount of time. If they self-select out the system, that's great. We didn't want to talk to them anyway. We haven't wasted any time. But if there's some diamonds in the rough, it's going to surface that prospect for us to speak to, but only if they respond. Well, and one of the hardest questions I have with venues is, look, get out of your own way. You are the bottleneck in your business. Okay, your business at the moment can currently only grow as fast as your hands can move. Okay, so get out of your own way and try and give as much over to technology as possible. Okay, because, you know, one of the slides that didn't make the cut in this presentation, but I'm just going to talk through, is, look, do we think this is unreasonable of right now? Do we think those expectations are unreasonable of the modern day consumer? Of course it is. Of course it is. It's not humanly possible to be able to be there when we're not there, because we've got day jobs as well, right? You know, that's the biggest challenge of a lot of small businesses in the wedding space, is that we actually have to go and fulfill on the product we're selling. We haven't got time to be there. So how can you be in 2 places at one time? That's where we need to use technology to create leverage in our business and outsmart the competition.
It's interesting. It's very...
Yeah, thanks, Oscar. Totally. And then a little bonus tip for you guys is that keep an eye on new tech. So look, some of the things that we're doing at the moment that are working really well for our clients is things like voicemail drops. So what happens is we have the client record quite a generic soundbite that can be used at any point of the sales process, but we're using it right now from the brochure delivery to the tour request in the venue. And what it says is like, oh, hi, it's just Simone from such and such. We noticed that you downloaded the brochure. We hope you love it. I just wondered, would you like for me to call you and book in for a show round? I'd love to show you around and discuss how, you know, your dream day. And that is what we call the epitome of personalization at scale. So if you imagine that voicemail drop, it leaves a one ring on the phone, the voicemail is left behind. And what that's actually facilitating is loads of inbound calls to book show rounds without any effort from the venue. That's going great guns at the moment. That's doing really, really well. But you could use that anywhere. Another venue said, look, we're really struggling with no shows at the moment on the show rounds. I said, well, let's put them into the countdown. They get the confirmation. They get your 5 days out, 2 days out, 1 day out, please confirm. If they don't respond to the confirmation, then let's drop them that ringless voicemail to understand whether they're actually coming in. And I'll give you a clue, it's completely eradicated no shows at all of our venues.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, no, we're really, really pleased with that. That is as good as the process I think is going to get for no shows. Things like WhatsApp. Look, I know WhatsApp isn't new, but once we add WhatsApp into that kind of mix of communication preferences, all of a sudden you've got this war chest of ability to be able to get connected and stay connected with that prospect, so that when they do disappear, which the modern day consumer does, they go and look at other venues, they go and speak to other suppliers, then at least you're fully connected with them and you can re-engage with them when it matters.
And you can see when they're engaging with your content as well, because you see the deliverability and response as well. It's brilliant.
Totally. It's about having that centralized view of communication with that customer. So when we go into our platform, and I think I've shown you this before, Oscar, you can see whether it's an email, whether it's an SMS, whether it's a website chat, whether it's a Google My Business chat. It all lives under one string of communication, and it logs exactly when that was. We're testing Google natural language processing in the US, not the voice version, but we're testing that as like artificial intelligence, testing it over in the US first, because I just think that the UK maybe isn't quite there yet. But that's just keep an eye out for new technology. And again, there's no harm in kind of testing it on a small subset of your audience.
Definitely.
We talk about a lot of this stuff in this little one page or kind of like blueprint that we mapped out a little while ago. It talks about the modern day consumer. It talks about how to book more weddings without spending more on advertising. If anyone would like this afterwards, give me a shout. I'll send it over. It just goes into a bit more detail about what we've spoken about today.